Today on Bridges, Adonis Lindsay is my guest, and we are going to be talking about transitions. I'm Monica Schmelter, and I'm so glad that you could join me for Bridges today, where we bring you hope for the journey. Today, we're going to be talking about transitions, and my dear friend Adonis Lindsay is my guest. And Adonis, so good to have you back.
Monica, it's always good to be here, sitting next to you on the set of Bridges and just inspiring people, encouraging people. So thanks for having me back in the studio.
Yeah, so glad. We always have such a good time. And I was thinking back, as we talk about transitions, to the first time that you and Heather, wasn't this Bridges set, but the last one, I invited with the orange chairs.
Yeah,
that's right. Orange chairs and purple walls like that. Yeah, I liked it. I invited you guys to do 8 shows.
You did. And I remember that, Monica. That was over 10 years ago. That's how long we've known each other. Yep. So it's a great standing relationship.
Yes, it is.
And we were going to the same church, and me and my wife wrote a dating book called Dating in Black and White. And then I released another book called Next. And when you found that out, you came up to me after service and you said, hey, I think you guys would be good. Come down to the station and do some interviews. And we had never done television before. And I remember going home telling Heather, I said, you know Monica, you know the one with the reddish, maroonish hair. I don't even know what color it was. But
I don't either, Thomas. I don't either. It's all good.
I said, she goes, yeah. I said, well, she asked us to come do 8 interviews there. And so that was your idea, Monica.
It was my idea.
As we got into it, but we had a lot of fun that day.
We did. 8 changes of clothes, all in one day.
And I like to tell people, you threw us into the deep end. I guess you saw something in us that said television or whatever that was, but you didn't mess around.
No, there was no shallow end. There were no floaties. I put you guys right in the deep end. And yes, I did know you were TV. I knew that. I knew that. Yeah. I knew it way before I ever invited you. I knew that. I could just see that on you. And it's like, okay, we're going to pull on that gift. But we had so much fun.
We did.
I remember at the end of the day saying, like, whose bright idea was it to do 8 shows?
Then
Mine.
You realized
that's me. But that's kind of how we got started working together in ministry.
Exactly. And when I saw that, it was like, because never had I thought about television. And then it was like, you invited me out to do more shows. You invited me to even host some shows. I remember interviewing you. I think it was, was that like the 20th anniversame? I can't remember.
I think 25th.
Okay.
I think 25th.
And you called me up and said, hey, Adonis, I'm going to spin some things around. Would you come out and interview me? And I thought, wow, that's awesome. So I came out, did an interview. I think I also did some of the hosting events or the
open houses.
Open houses, coming out doing all those with you.
You
and just
did.
Kind of felt like at home and kind of felt like by then it was almost like second nature.
Right.
To be a part of what you guys were doing here at WHTN.
Yeah, you came for all of the open houses and you hosted them and did like all of the announcing, all the breaks that were on TV, and you've just been so much a part.
And that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of moving parts during that time. And it's like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah. And it was nice because viewers and programmers came out. We had good food, lots of laughs, had some prayer.
Some sweet tea.
Sweet tea. We did have sweet tea. That's Adonis's favorite. Light on the ice, though.
There you go. You can't water it down. You got to keep it strong.
So it's just like you've just been a part of WHTN for years.
Yeah. And, the thing with that is like, all my life, Monica, it's like when God's leading you to places, and I know we're talking about transitions, but it's like I go back in my early Christian adult life, and it's always been that when God is getting ready to transition me or to lead me, not all transition is bad. People, when they hear that word transition, you got to get it out of your mind that that's a negative connotation. It is not. That's a positive thing when you're in the kingdom.
That's right.
When you're in the kingdom, that's very positive. And so all throughout my life, God has just led me to those moments where I felt it inside first that, hey, change is happening. Transition is about to happen. And, when I was younger, I would fight it. That's when you.
Oh, yeah.
But,
oh, yes. I know that well.
Like, okay, God, that's not you. I'm good. I'm good.
Because it's working. That's what I'm thinking. Like, God,
it's very comfortable here.
Love this.
But, transition after transition. And I think I went through like 4 or 5 different things. But by then, I'd kind of learned to understand how God would lead me. And I think that's very important for anybody who's walking with God. God's going to lead you different Monica, then he leads me. And I tell people all the time, you've got to spend that time with God so you understand when it's his voice who's leading you. So about the fourth time of the transition, it's like, okay, God, no need to fight it. No need to argue with God. You just sense that something is about to happen in your life. And God will connect all the dots from there. When is that transition when he's involved with it?
Because he knows, like you said, transition when you're in the kingdom is a good thing.
Yes.
You know, wherever he's taking us from over there to over there. So we did the 8 shows. You did co-hosted the open houses for us. I brought you in as a speaker to the team sometimes to encourage them. And then I sort of pushed you maybe into doing your own show.
You did with that, you know, and you know, if you've watched Monica enough on Bridges, when she's looking at you and it's that smile, I tell people it's like she's smiling, but you got to look beyond the eyes, and you know she's setting you up for something that God is impressed in her, and that's the thing I've always appreciated you about, Monica, with our relationship. It's like, you know, obviously God was nudging you, and you took that bold step of faith to nudge me, or to even plant that seed. And you were like, Adonis, I think you'd be great to have your own TV show. And I'm like, oh, television? And I remember talking to Heather. It's like, we never put that on our dream board or anything. It's like, you know, but then I just started feeling this sense, okay, maybe there's another audience, you know, because I was still working at the church.
Sure.
And I just started feeling like God was telling me, Adonis, your voice is for more than just what you see here.
Yes.
And I think that was a great segue right there, Monica, as I, you know, okay, Lord, she's planted the seed. This is a natural tendency. It's just, you've made it so natural. And it's like, okay. And I started seeing it as a different form of ministry, like reaching beyond the current people that I was speaking to on Sunday. And it's like, that was like, okay, God was opening my eyes of just the importance of Christian television. And I'm like, yes, I want to be a part of that. And
and you know, on the other side, like for me, when God gave me those nudges, you know, that's not always easy to say to somebody, I see this in you, because they could say, no.
Could say no.
No. You know, so I always try to do it gently. Like, I think that God could be saying this. This is what I think. So that we're not pushing people or spiritually manipulating people, but just like, I always know if that is God, you know, he and Heather will pray about that and God will show them. I just did the initial transition.
And I love that, because there are people that will come, you know, back in my church background is Kojic, grew up Kojic, and it's like everybody wants to prophesy, and it's like there are people that will be prophesying and prophet-lying at the same time. Is what we call it.
I haven't heard that, prophet-lying.
Prophet-lying. And so with that, it's like, you know, you said it, like, I'm not going to manipulate people, and it's like, but you did plant a thought.
Yes.
And the way you introduced that was, okay, if it's God, they'll pray about it, and at the end of the day, it's, you know, God, it's up to you, and you'll smile on the direction, and you'll give that confirmation that everybody needs. So I never felt any pressure.
Good.
You never came and said, thus said the Lord, God showed me. And it's like, because that does put pressure on people.
It does, and people marry people with that, and they do make all kinds of job changes and this and that, and you're going to go worldwide and all this. Whatever transition God has for you, he's going to confirm that to your heart. You don't just get that from other people. He's going to show you. I believe that firmly. I believe that firmly. And then I'll tell you about this in 2016. How about that?
Yeah.
So in 2016, Adonis, I got this ministry job offer.
Okay.
And it sounded wonderful. And I thought, well, this might be just a great challenge, right? Something different. And so I told my husband, and the way we do it, we each take a week to pray, then we come back together and chat it out. So when I came at the end of the week, I thought, that's not for me. And my husband's like, you know, that's what I thought. I said, but you know, as I prayed, I did ask God who my replacement would be. And I said, I think he showed me Adonis Lindsay. And he said, well, he'd do great at that. But it was like, but I'm not going anywhere. So that won't be happening. But we have experienced some transition.
Yes. And I think in those moments, that's almost like that foreshadowing. And it's like, you know, I love the fact that you kind of felt like, okay, God, I'm going to put this before you if I'm supposed to take that opportunity. And you didn't, I'm surely God confirmed that with you and your husband. It wasn't time. But then God gave you a glimpse of something
he
in
did.
the future. And if he yes.
He did. I didn't know that it was a glimpse, but I'm thankful that I didn't say anything to you about it. It was just something that I held in my heart from 2016 until now. And then about a year or so ago, the vice president of CTN approached me about a new role, and I prayed about that. And I thought, okay, I'm going to jump into that transition because I'll oversee, you know, the other station managers and help them out. And once again, your name came up to be the new general manager at WHTN. So I thought, okay, so how do I tell Adonis this?
Yeah.
So do you remember what I did? I texted you.
You texted me. And so here's the thing. Out of the blue, even before you texted me, it's like 2 weeks prior to that. And this is that God trail where you kind of just look back and see God connecting the dots. But about 2 weeks prior to that, it's, you know, I'm waking up one morning and, you know, you're barely waking up and God, I heard in my spirit, God spoke, hey, Monica's going to be reaching out to you. That's all I heard. Monica's going to be reaching out to you. And so 2 weeks later, when I got the text, it's like, you know, your mind is like, whoa, okay, God, what are you doing? You know, and then it's like, because you had texted me, hey, I got something I want to talk to you about. Let me know if you have time tomorrow.
Yeah. I just wanted to reach out, you know, just kind of see, because, you know, when transitions, you want to be sure.
Exactly.
I was not going to say, you know, God gave me your name. I just thought, we'll chat and see if there's any interest.
Yeah. And so with that, it's like, they set up a time. We talked the next day. And so I was kind of quiet. You kind of just...
You were very quiet.
Yeah,
Adonis.
you kind of just went over some things.
It was super uncomfortable. Yeah, because you're like really quiet. And I'm like, okay, I've missed this. Okay. And, you know, when I was telling you, you know, because we had talked with Ashley about the role also, and that wasn't something that worked for her family. And she told me in a note, after praying about it, she's like, I think Adonis Lindsay. And so she and I like looked at each other like, okay, well, this must be God. But then you were quiet.
Yeah, I was very quiet on that, just listening.
Yeah, listening. And you said, well, I'm not looking.
Yeah. And I think with that, because, you know, your mind tends to go to the natural. Like, okay, Monica, I'm pastoring a church now. I'm still speaking, got a young family. And, you know, that I think those were the things I was going through in my mind, just kind of as I'm listening to you talk. And so you said, well, but you were still not prophesying or prophesying. You just said, hey, pray about it, take some time. You said, I'll send you some paperwork. You can look over that, or just job description and all that. And so you kind of just left it at that.
Exactly.
And so, and then you had told me that Ashley had thought of my name as well. And so I think after we got off the phone, that's when God pushes that button, and I go back to like, okay, God, this is, at least I've got to walk this out to see if this is you, you know?
And that's part, I'm excited for us to talk about transition today, because that's the whole thing. Like, we feel that, and then it's like, we have God confirm it, and you've got a family, all those things. We've got to take a break.
Yeah.
I want you to stay with us today on Bridges, because when we come back, you're going to hear about Adonis Lindsay's transition and just how we can all discern and confirm the voice of the Lord. Don't give in. God's word says you're an overcomer. If you hadn't done blah, 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 this wouldn't have happened. And let me say this to you. If you think that you are in a mess of your own making, you are still an overcomer. When that temptation comes, you want to make sure that you are dressed for battle. Therefore, put on every piece of God's armor so you will be able to resist the enemy in the time of evil. It takes training. It takes discipline. And so when you're fighting that good fight of the faith, you take your story, whatever it is, and you saturate it in faith, and you fight for it.
Visit monicaschmelter.com to schedule Monica to speak at your next event.
We are talking today about transitions on Bridges, and my guest, Adonis Lindsay, and we've been talking, Adonis, about transitions that God has been doing with both of us. And that phone call where I reached out to you and basically said, you know, I'm going on to a new role at CTN, and we've got this opening, pray about it.
Yeah, and you left it at that, and it's like, I know I was very quiet. Once again, I was quiet.
You were so quiet, and it was scaring me.
But I'm processing.
I understand.
A lot of times when you feel that God is orchestrating something, it's like, Monica, I go into those quiet moments, and I encourage everybody to do that, because when God is speaking, the enemy is going to fight with different voices, that all the loudness that tries to come in. And so with that, Monica, I was quiet, but I'm processing, and I'm talking to God while you're talking to me.
Yes.
And I never will forget, God reminded me, well, Adonis, 2 weeks ago, I told you Monica was going to be reaching out. And I think that's the thing, Monica, that made me, okay, God, I'm going to go on this journey to investigate if this is you. And I think a lot of people never make it there,
right,
because they talk themselves out of it. And while you were talking, and then you sent me the job description, so I'm looking at everything, but I think I looked at it from the natural as well. And it's like, I'm trying to give all the reasons to call you back and say, no, Monica, I appreciate it. Still love you. I hope this doesn't mess up our friendship.
No.
But God never let me do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think I sat for a couple of days and talked to Heather a little bit about it. And when I talked to Heather, she's like, oh, you'd be great at that, because that's what you're like. I'm like, okay, Heather. And I'm still trying to, God, if this is you, but I go back to that focal point that God spoke to me 2 weeks prior to you reaching out, because all he said was, hey, Monica's going to be reaching out to you.
Yeah. And I think, Adonis, like as we talk about transitions and celebrate like how God has brought you a part of the CTN team and to be the general manager here, I love that you said you were quiet. It takes being quiet.
It does. It does.
Also, we have to count the cost of things.
Exactly.
There are so many times that a person thinks it's God, they jump in, and they jumped in way too much that they can handle.
Yeah.
So you were just wanting to process it.
Yes.
And I knew that. And I also knew we've been friends for all of these years.
Yes.
And I wanted between us that the dear friendship that we've had and the love that I have for you and Heather, whether you came on board or you didn't, or you came on board and it didn't work out, which it is working out. I just wanted to clear that with you all, that our friendship, our relationship is more important than a position.
Yeah, and that's the journey that we went on, and that's what I encourage anybody to do, after I processed, and it's like, oh no, and then God took me back, hey, Adonis, you know how I lead you from transition to transition. And it's not one of those, I think a lot of people think when it's transition, oh, thank God you got me out of that mess. But it's just, God takes us from glory to glory.
Yes.
And so I begin to look at that, okay, what do I need to do in the natural to start the investigation on this? I remember I reached out to Ashley and talked to her just to get her perspective and insight. And then I came in and met with you. Yeah. And it was one of those meetings. I said, hey, Monica, can we just go to the set?
We sat right here on this Bridges
Nobody else was in here with us. No lights, no cameras, or anything like that. Nobody filming us. And we sat here and just had that heart-to-heart talk, you know? And I think by then we were both knowing that God was orchestrating this, but I don't think either one of us ever got ahead of God.
Nope.
Because I was like, okay, Monica, I'm gonna be real honest. I'm looking at, what I currently do, but I'm also seeing this as an extension of ministry and just reaching more people, because it is. That's what we're doing here. And I never will forget. I'm like, okay, Monica, I think I can do this. And I was intent on just not becoming somebody else, but okay, Lord, if I'm supposed to be here, I'm just gonna bring Adonis here. And this is going to work out. And it's like, okay, I think I can do this. I think I can still oversee this. And I still have things going on in my life and small kids, but I think at the end of the day, this was such an open communication and conversation that we had. And like you said, you got to count the costs.
Yep.
And some people do jump in and then it's overwhelming. But I also think when it's God, one of the things, God's always given me grace for the season that I was in. And I believe God does that when he's transitioning you, whether it's a job or just a different arena, whatever that is, God will give you that grace.
Yes, he does.
Because it's not in your strength, it's in God's strength.
Right.
And so I've just stepped in with a grace, Monica, and a confidence. And, I think what sealed the deal, no matter how much I'm like trying to talk myself out of it, God was like, hey, I told you 2 weeks before she reached out.
Yeah.
that she's going to be reaching out to you. And I'm just, you know, Monica, I serve God and I follow God. I've been following him since I was 17 years of age. I know when he's leading me. And so I see this just as a continuation of my journey, being obedient to God. I'm excited to see what comes out of it as we continue here at WHTN to reach more people with the gospel of Jesus Christ and to see lives touched and changed. And I love the team here. Spent about 3 months just getting to know them. Remember, I said, "Hey, Monica, let's come in like undercover. I just gotta make sure we don't make any announcement right now. We're not gonna tell the whole social media world that I'm stepping in. And let's see if this is a good fit for all of us."
Right. And I loved that because that was confirmation to me, because in my prayer, I'm like, God, I want to hand this over to someone that I trust, to someone that has character. I've worked here for the 28 years. I love this place.
Yes.
It's been my baby for a long time. So you don't want to hand your baby over to just anybody.
Yes.
And I thought, okay, as far as, I was sensing that you wanted to accept the position, and I just felt in my heart, maybe we don't announce this to everybody right away. You wanted to make sure that it was a good fit. And you are such an honest and straightforward communicator. You even told Brian and Yolanda, I want to give this 90 days.
90 days,
because when you told me you were going to tell them that, I thought, I wonder how they're going to feel about that. I was good with it. But you know what? They were good with it. And I'm like, God, on every question, right? Every little thing that could have come up, God was leading us through. And then you came to me and said, can we do this? I don't remember your exact words, but it was basically quietly. I wasn't going to call all our local pastors and put it out on social media, because I thought, if he tries it and this isn't for him, then our people have another change to handle.
A change to deal with, And so with that is coming in, and I think there was just so much wisdom in that. And it wasn't just to save us, but the people.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yes.
And you're kingdom-minded when you're always having the people in mind. And so, coming in for 3 months, and I remember, we had guests come in, and it's like, okay, I'm in my office, like, what's up?
And I was doing that too. Like, okay, well, what are they thinking since Adonis is here? Because I'm not saying anything, and I'm on the second floor now, and I'm not here all the time. I'm traveling and going to the affiliates. It's like, what are they thinking? But I just kept saying to myself, just rest. Let God delight in these details.
Let him do it.
And, you spent so much time sewing into the team, which gave me like such great peace. And I just saw how much that they love you. And I'm like, God, you're bringing this to pass. Like, you're doing this.
And that's why it's like he brings it full circle. And so even as I hit that 90-day moment, even before then, it's like, this is a good fit, And it's like, he just brings everything full circle. Because I go all the way back to Monica, when you came up to me after church, hey, would you and your wife be interested in coming doing some? And I think in those moments, you didn't know it then.
No.
But God knew it.
Yes.
And in those moments, that was almost like training ground.
Well,
you were almost kind of like already training me. You probably didn't even know it.
No, I didn't. I didn't. I just thought I saw such gifts in you and Heather, and I just wanted to pull on those. I didn't know that God would ever bring you here. I mean, I knew you were on staff at a church. You're an author. You're a speaker, self-employed. Then and you would come and you would just help at the open houses, which meant so much to us. I didn't realize that, but God knew.
God knew.
And when we're just faithful in those little things, and just enjoyed our friendship and having you as a guest on Bridges, I had no idea that there would be a day that you would be the general manager of WHTN.
Yes, and so and that's exciting, Monica. And I'm glad you were obedient to God, pressing you and Ashley as well. And it takes everybody being obedient.
Yes, it does.
For God's plan to come to pass. And I think so many times we get it twisted and we get it wrong, thinking it all depends on me. No, everybody has to do their part for this thing to work out. And I think one of the things that people get, especially when there's a friendship involved, people get apprehensive. Well, I don't want to lose that. But I think, man, if you're both in the kingdom and you both follow God, nothing has changed, Monica, between our friendship. And it's like, but the enemy will always put those thoughts in your mind. Well, something going to happen. We're going to get mad at each other. And it's like, you know what? When you're in God's plan, and you are who you are, God picks the right people.
Right.
And so this has been great.
And, that's why I put it out there that, I want to protect our friendship above all of this, because friendship is important. And when you can find people that you trust and do ministry with and laugh with, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
That's
and
a lot.
that you actually like at the end of the day when you go home.
Right. And
that's real talk right there.
It really is. I think of all the times that you came and you just volunteered your time to co-host things.
Yeah.
You donated books for us to give away. You sewed into the station a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to ruin any of that. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to do that. Because I've seen so many bad endings in ministry.
Yes.
And that's not God's best.
Exactly.
People ought to be able to say, God has a transition for me, and that doesn't mean that you're bad, right? It just means God has a transition. I need to go over here. And when people are mature and respectful, you can do that. And I've watched God do that in this transition.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where I go back to that. It's not a negative connotation. It's very positive. When it's God smiling on that and when it's God prompting that, and once again, I encourage everybody, the more time you spend with God on your journey in life, you're going to learn how he moves you and gets you ready. God never does anything and catches you unaware off guard. But if you're listening, that's the thing. You got to be listening.
That's it.
And that's that one thing that he always takes me back to. Wait a minute. I told Monica, I told you that she'd be reaching out 2 weeks before she did.
And that was like the solid thing that he did that kept reminding you that he was in
that was it. That was it. Because anytime my mind would kind of, wait a minute. So I told you she'd be reaching out to you. Yeah. So that kind of prepared the way. And I used that as that anchor.
Yes.
Because that's important, because your mind has a tendency to drift.
All of us.
And it's like, that was the anchor of my soul, Monica.
Yes. And for me, that your name had come up years ago. And then I felt it again. And then Ashley mentioned it to me. And it's like, okay, God doesn't do all this for no reason. So it'll work out how it works out. But God's doing something.
He's doing something. And I think we paid attention. And we laid out a plan. We went on a journey. And here we are.
Here we are.
I'm excited to be
new general manager WHTN, Donis Lindsay. So we're out of time, but thank you so much for coming.
Always, Monica.
Life can be hard and days can be long. So if you're looking for hope for the journey, MonicaSchmelter.com is a great place to get started. On MonicaSchmelter.com, you'll find Monica's teachings on demand. And if you're looking to really grow your faith, you'll find online extras are available with every teaching. So don't wait another day. Get started now at MonicaSchmelter.com and you will find hope for the journey.
If you enjoy watching Bridges, you can join Monica on Facebook for all the extras. Just visit Facebook and search for Monica Schmelter TV. At Monica Schmelter TV, you'll get a look behind the scenes. You'll learn secrets from the studio, and you'll be among the first to know what's coming up next on Bridges. Best of all, you can connect with Monica for prayer and share what topics you'd most like to see on Bridges. Monica would love to connect with you.